Welcome to the Local Analog Podcast. On today's episode, we are talking with photographer and YouTuber Corey Wolfenbarger. Corey is a Tennessee-based photographer who has worked with some of the largest brands in the world. Corey and I discussed the freelancing grind, the beginnings of film photography, and some of our favorite YouTubers. Corey's work has always been among my favorite, and I'm really excited to have him on today for our first episode of the Local Analog Podcast. Please enjoy. All right, so today we have a good friend, Corey Wolfenbarger, on the podcast. Corey, how's it going, man?
It's going good, man. I live in Tennessee, and so our governor is saying that he's going to open everything up soon. So a lot of my state is very angry. But yeah, I mean, I'm just stuck in the house in this hoodie and this beanie that I've been wearing for like 4 weeks straight. So
yeah. Yeah, dude, I know the struggle. I'm in Mississippi, and so it's pretty much the same. Like things are about to start opening back up, and restaurants are already kind of starting to become populated again, which is it's kind of nice. It's difficult because it's like a good thing, but you wonder if it's like too soon, you know. So it's kind of
yeah. I think a lot of people that will listen to this probably don't live in the South or not familiar with our region of the United States, but we live in like very rural states, and so like the just like the economy and people's income is like very low compared to like bigger cities in the U.S. And so I know a lot of people that are affected, and obviously I don't know if it's a good idea to be opening this soon, but there's a lot of people hurting that need to get back to their jobs. So it's just, I don't know. I don't really have a good opinion on it. So just waiting it out, man.
Yeah, so give me the background on who you are, what you do. Like I know, you know, I've kind of been friends for about a year or so on Instagram, and followed your work for a while. And you've got some of the most beautiful travel and landscape stuff I've ever seen. Especially like the Joshua Tree stuff, all the parks that I've seen you photograph. I've loved. So tell me kind of how you emerged from, you know, to get to where you are right now.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. I'm a really just a pretty laid back, tall dude who grew up obsessed with basketball. And then one day I grew up and went to college, and basketball was over and sports were over. So I just picked up a camera, an iPhone. I think it was like a 4 or a 5. This is probably around like 2014. So Instagram was very different than it was today. It was very community driven. It was very, I don't know, man. It didn't have a lot of the cool features it has today, but it was just different, but it was better in a lot of ways. And so there was a lot of kids at the college I went to, which was Liberty University, which is a strange place now, which was also very different when I went there. But a lot of kids there because we were in the middle of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So hiking was very popular, just kind of traveling around the state. And yeah, I just started going out and taking photos with my iPhone because I didn't know what else to do and I was bored. And just got really into it, man. Really fell in love with being in the outdoors and the fact that it was like good for my mental health and good for my physical body to go on these long hikes after class. That was awesome. And then the fact that I could share an iPhone photo and get like 30 likes when I got back to my dorm, I just thought that was like the dopest thing in the world. And I just fell in love with it. And didn't take a DSLR photo until I was probably, I don't know, like 23 or 20, probably 24 years old. I picked up a DSLR for the first time. And yeah, I just kept at it, man. Like anytime I could drive on the weekends to go to a different state park in the South, I would go. Anytime I could go on a hike, I would go. And eventually just was very fortunate that people were taking notice of my hard work, because the photos weren't good. Like my photos, they would make me cringe to look at my 2014, 2015, 2016 stuff. But people just started following along on my Instagram account, and that allowed me to begin to make money through brands or tourism boards wanting me to come take photos. And yeah, that's just where I'm at today. I'm in a very strange and fortunate position to where people will pay me to come take photos of their products in certain outdoor travel environments, stuff like that. So it's been a very strange road. A lot of my family still is confused by it, but it's where I'm at. I'm very thankful to be here. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I did not start on an iPhone. Uh, and like, I think well, like, I say that, but it definitely began for me with Instagram. Like just being able to take photos, like having an app that like encouraged you to take photos and rewarded you for it. Basically, like you would get like likes and like comments and things like that. And I think like for me though, like I always felt it was hard for me to really latch on to iPhone photography.
Mhm.
Uh, and so I feel like for me, it was like I immediately just went out and bought a DSLR and like learned it because I thought that's what you had to have
Yeah.
to take photos, but clearly not.
It's because like back in the day, and this is really like, it's hard to talk about this with people trying to think like you're trying to be like, what's good, you weren't there. It's not like that, but it really was like a very like, we like my friends and me, we literally caught like the OG days. I mean, this was a long time ago, not even like 2016. Because I do remember, this is some kind of nerdy Instagram trivia that I think people will like, or history. Like there kind of was like a defining time in Instagram when photographers started to post DSLR photos. And that was an actual conversation within the community of like, whoa, like, is this a thing that we're going to start doing now? Because there was a time where it was revolutionary and even frowned upon to some degree that people
Mhm.
were taking photos from their computer and putting them back on their phone to post online, which is comical now because why would you not want the best, you know?
Yeah,
But the iPhone thing was not so much of, we knew it wasn't better. Like we knew they weren't the best they could be, but it was just kind of like, it was the tradition, you know, it was kind of like something that wasn't to be messed with. And so for me, like, man, it never even crossed my mind because I kind of fell in the iPhone camp because I love the minimal vibe of it. I love that I could just take a photo anywhere. And so, yeah, man, the DSLR, this is so funny and so corny to admit, but like it was actually hard for me to start posting DSLR on Instagram because
yeah,
I was like, man, this is whack. Like this isn't the way, but whatever. But which now sounds so silly. But yeah, I was definitely late to the DSLR game. Like, and I've always wondered if I would have been like you and just gone for it, probably would have helped me in the long run because I was so behind. I mean, kids might be listening to this. Like, I didn't take a photo on a DSLR till I was almost 25. Like, that's pretty
hmm
crazy.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah. It's interesting because I think we're about the same age. I'm almost 27.
I'm 27.
And
I just, yeah,
yeah, and so I just remember Instagram being such a like I remember when hashtag things were like hashtag challenges were like a big deal.
yeah.
I have a friend now who like his whole entire feed was just like making punny comments, like a punny post with like a punny picture. And like that was like his whole thing. But like come to find out, like that was actually like 45 people that were all doing that at the same time.
I've actually got one for you. I remember when Visco and hashtag ViscoCam. First of all, this was so long ago, like maybe 2012. First of all, people weren't even pronouncing it like that. Everyone called it Visco, and we didn't even know that it was that we were saying it wrong. And then also, we used those two hashtags because so many people were using it. We used it for years before we even knew it was an app. We didn't even know what it was. We just knew that it was a hashtag where everybody was posting. And then one day somebody was like, oh, yeah, that's like an app where you edit because we were still editing with the original Instagram presets. And
Yeah.
so that's why, like, I might not use Visco a ton anymore, but it's like those guys, man, which like my buddy Joe Greer, people might not know this, like he actually worked for them like forever ago, like before 2015. But those guys that worked at Visco, like they were visionaries, dude. They were like, because back then we were so, people thought we were so stupid that we were taking photos on our iPhones. They were like, that's so corny. Why are you doing that? And here you had these guys out west that were like, no, we believe there's going to be this many kids that are going to be into this. We're going to like make a freaking company to make presets, film presets, which that was before film ever came back. So it's come a long way, man. And people who've been doing the Instagram thing for a long time, it's so crazy to see how big and how powerful it's become. It's
Yeah.
wild, man.
Yeah. And you think about like now, like then it was a big deal for people to start posting photos that they took with their Canon 5D. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's like people are posting photos that they took with their, Mamiya
Yeah.
7, and then they got processed, and then they got it scanned, and then
Yeah.
they're posting it to Instagram. And so you think about the process as just like elongated so much. What has
Yeah.
been your journey with film at this point?
Yeah, I feel like I've told the story 100 times, but for those who like haven't heard it, long story short is I was going to Iceland in 2016, early 2016. So I've been shooting film for about 4 years now, and I was lucky enough to be shooting for a tourism board out there, and so packed up all my gear. Had two very good buddies, a buddy flying in from London to meet us, and then my best friend Matt lives in Los Angeles. So we were all flying in separately, going to be there. I had gotten a conversation with the guy who shot my wedding, who I did a video with. It's one of the most recent videos on my YouTube channel. And I knew he shot film, and I just ended up asking him one day, like in a text conversation about film. And I was like, hey, I'd really love to shoot some film on my trip. Like, what would you recommend? And he offered to let me borrow a camera, which at the time I had no idea about any film cameras, the value of them. And he let me borrow a Contax T2, which is like the most coveted point and shoot, today, probably at least one of the top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So I met him at a Starbucks in Knoxville. He showed me gave me the camera, showed me how it worked, told me to buy a 5-pack of Portra and a couple rolls of HP5. We went on the trip. I was taking photos for my Instagram and taking photos for the client, and just kind of had the contacts in my jacket, every day wherever we went. And I think I shot like 4 or 5 rolls, came back, sent them to the lab. 90% of them were garbage. Had no idea what I was doing with exposure compensation.
Yeah.
But I just loved them though, dude. I just loved them. I didn't care about the compositions. I didn't care that they were grainy. I didn't care that they were overexposed or underexposed. It was something that for the first time I was like, I can show these to my grandkids and they'll mean 500 times more than anything that's on any of those memory cards.
Yeah.
And so I returned the Contax T2, got on Craigslist, found a Canon AE1 like 2 weeks later when I got back, drove an hour and a half to buy it for $100, broke 6 months later, but just shot it every day, all day, saved up after that, broke, bought my first expensive film camera, a Contax G2, and I just never looked back, man. I shoot digital a lot for clients. I don't really shoot film for that, but if it's anything personal or anything you see on Instagram, like it's film, I could never go back at this point. So
yeah. I know like the question of, like, I'm sure you get the question a lot, like, why do you shoot film? And, there's so many, like, I feel like answers that just kind of get recycled, but I think they're all good. Like there's a certain amount of, like for me, one of the biggest reasons I like to shoot film is that the actual cameras are so awesome and like they're so well built, and like my Pentax 6.7 is just like a tank, and no digital mirrorless camera, like I shoot Sony for client work as well, but like no Sony's going to hold up throughout the years like a Pentax will, and there's just something about like shooting a 30 to 40 50-year-old lens on that thing that just gives a result that is just like you can't find it with digital lenses, digital cameras.
Yeah, it's man, I probably say the word corny too much because I feel so silly saying some of this stuff, but it's true. Like, I've never picked up a Canon 5D Mark III or Mark IV, which is what I would use, and like I've never been like just excited to hold that camera. It's just strictly a tool, which my film cameras are too. But anytime I pick up a Mamiya or anytime I pick up a 35mm camera, you feel like you have these relationships with them because they are flawed. They do mess up. They are hard to work. They do give you frustrations. And so, yeah, there's a ton of reasons I shoot film, but the cameras are a large part of it. And that narrative is kind of negative. Like, people don't really they don't like to admit they're into gear, but like, I don't care. Like, I like gear. Like, I love trying new cameras. I love trading my cameras. I do it all the time. And the ones that have stuck with me that I love the most, like every time I pick it up, man, I just get excited to use it because it's just, they're so special. And so, yeah, the cameras are a huge part of it, man.
Yeah. Well, shifting gears, I want to talk to you about kind of like your commercial or your freelancing job. Like I've noticed over the years you've worked with some large brands, and I know a lot of them are like brands that you've dreamed to work with as you grow up. And I'm thinking about like Bluntstone or Tom's. Like, we all remember when we used to like wear Tom's shoes, and I think we were changing the world, and like in some ways we were. Kind of talk to me about like how that kind of came to pass. Like, you were because a lot of film photographers that are really good at film don't shoot anything commercially, don't shoot anything for paid work necessarily. So talk to me kind of how that works for you.
Yeah, so I think, initially I started to see like, I think my Instagram account was, it had gotten into the tens of thousands and people were reaching out, but I just didn't really care. I just was still just hanging out with my friends, taking photos on the weekends. And when I started to learn how DSLR worked and I got comfortable with that, and I started kind of seeing the photography that was online for companies locally, I just kind of thought like, hey, and I definitely don't think I'm the best. I never will. If anything, I'm unconfident in my work, but I started seeing stuff like locally around town. I was just like, man, I can do better than that. And like, I'm not going to undercut anybody, but like, I bet I'm not going to charge as much as those people and I can do a better job than that. And I was young, so like I didn't need the money, but it was nice to make $300 or $400 here or there. And so, yeah, I just kind of started to do like very sparingly, like reaching out to like local companies of saying like, hey, I've got this idea. I think I can make this cool set of photos for you guys to use on your website or social media, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I just kind of learned a little bit about what it means to treat a client right. The most successful photographers I know, while their work is amazing, they're successful because they treat people right and because they understand how to treat a client. They understand how to do little things like under promise, over deliver, go above and beyond to make sure a client gets something that's actually going to help them obtain their goal. And so I was doing that sparingly. And then the job that really, and I've never talked about this, so exclusive content, but the job that like really just changed the way I looked at everything was I go on a lot of road trips. It's just my thing. I just love it. It's just my thing. And so I'd been in road trip mode for a couple years and I had planned one out for springtime with my buddies. And I think I took my little brother on this trip actually. And man, just got an email from the North Face and they were like, hey, we have this campaign going on for this new line that we're doing or whatever. And it's to raise awareness for national parks. And they were like, we want to send you to any national park like you think you could go to and like just take pictures of people, in the product. And I was so stoked, dude. Like when that email came through, I don't remember, but I'm sure I texted my wife immediately. I'm sure I didn't, I just don't even remember. I just remember I was so stoked. I grew up like wearing the North Face, like I remember, like I had North Face gear at that time. I'm really into the outdoors. And I was just like, what is happening? And so I sent an email back and like, honest to God, if the budget would have been for free, I would have just been like, whatever. And I actually just done a job recently before the North Face job for a huge company, like a Fortune 500 company, like they're worth billions of dollars, and had gotten fleeced, dude, like on the budget, like had no idea, didn't find out until years later, like how bad they like killed me on that deal. But even then I was like, North Face, like whatever you want, like I'll do it. And they sent the budget back and like I almost fell out of my chair. And I just could not believe that a company was going to pay me to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was kind of the first time where I saw like, if you can work hard enough to put yourself in a position where a bigger company is going to trust you because they need you, like it's just crazy. And please don't like mishear me, anybody. Like I swing and miss all the time. Like I've lost so many big jobs. I've shot my shot to big companies hundreds of times probably, and nothing came of it. But the North Face job was really what changed everything for me, where I kind of got the confidence to say like, hey, I'm not the best, but like I can make stuff that, companies, because I don't share a lot of that stuff on my Instagram. Like that was all people in those photos. That was product stuff. And I don't share any of that on my Instagram. And I have certain like, decks that I'll send to people that I'm trying to pitch that have photos that I've taken of people in them that I would consider like more commercial or lifestyle. But yeah, and it's just kind of been history from there. Same as everybody else. After I got that job, it gave me a little bit of confidence to begin pitching to companies. And sometimes it worked and a lot of times it didn't. Just always trying to feel what I'm strong at photographically, looking for companies that I feel like I could help. And, if they're companies that I believe in, like I'll kill the budget to way down just to be a part of it so that I can say I've worked for them and continue to build my portfolio. So I'm still learning though, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I notice in you talking about that is like how important it is to just like how humility plays into like your work. And I think like we've all been around artists or photographers or just business people in general who are just arrogant and really difficult to work with and be around. And it really just shows that like, this is something I've talked about with other people, is that your portfolio definitely gets you in the door. Like it's how people find you. It's how people can, basically say, yeah, this person can do the job. But it's character and humility that really keep you there in the long run, and that kind of keep you away from toxic clients, or it keeps clients away from toxic photographers. And I think no matter who you work with, no matter how big they are, at the end of the day, you're talking to one person. Normally your liaison is not, you're sitting in front of the board of directors of a Fortune 500 company. You're probably talking to one or two people that are, kind of leading the way, and the way you interact with them with humility and is so paramount to, I guess, like a long-term career of photography, of commercial photography.
Yeah.
Um,
Most of
and
my work too, like just for people who may be curious, like I'm usually like 8 out of 10 times dealing with a middleman. So like like X variable brand, like is paying agency like in New York or Los Angeles or wherever, and that the agency is finding me and bringing me in, and then wanting to see like it's the little things, man. Like, do I return my emails on time? Do I actually act like I care about this? Am I giving input to say like this is what I can bring to the table? Am I delivering stuff on time when I said? But yeah, so I said that to say like when I'm dealing with an agency, I'm usually talking to someone who's like between the age of like 25 and 35. And so they're just like me. I'm 27. They have a desire to work in the creative industry, and it's, am I a kind person? And I'm not saying that that's what gets you the job. Obviously, you have to have the work, which is why the portfolio is huge. Like anytime I'm talking to a younger kid, they're like, I want to work for this brand. And I'm like, do you have a portfolio that's going to convince them that you can do something that's going to add value to what they're trying to do? And so, yeah, those are really good points of like the portfolio. And then just, you got to have the work, don't get me wrong, but like you also need to like be a good human being and be professional, and don't just sit there. Like you gotta sell yourself. And that's hard for some of us as artists, because I'm an introvert and sometimes I think my work sucks. So it's hard to sell yourself sometimes. I get that. But at the end of the day, like if you're not going to convince them that you're right for the job, like somebody else is going to, and that person's
right.
work might be worse than yours, but they
Mhm.
just had the guts to be like, no, I can do this. Give me a chance. And so you just got to shoot
Yeah,
your shot, man.
and you kind of have to have like that standard for yourself, even if you weren't a photographer. Like if you were an accountant, if you were a coal miner, you would be the same way, because a lot of times you're going to have like solid character, solid portfolio, and you might not get the job, like you just said. Like I was, if you could think of like the most boring client you can possibly think of, and they reached out, and by boring I don't mean people boring, I mean like the type of work that they do is just very standard, nothing special. It's like a financial firm essentially, and they reached out and they said that they needed.
Can I guess what it was? Was it headshots?
Yeah, it was headshots. Yeah, but it's not just headshots, it's 150 headshots.
That's a lot of headshots for those of you who've never done a headshot job. That is
Yeah,
a lot of headshots.
yeah, it's a lot of headshots. Normally, headshot jobs are like 10 to 15 to 20. 20 is a lot,
I was going to
really.
say 25 would be a ton of headshots. 150, I've never heard that.
Yeah, so I quoted them like $60, $70 a shot. Um, and normally I'd probably be like in the 100s maybe for a smaller amount, but it's like I can't just charge them like $15,000 for headshots. I mean, I can, but it's like I'm not going to get this gig. There's no way. Anyway, so I gave him a quote, $65 a shot, and everything was great, and I didn't get the gig. I don't know what happened. Like she was like, "We're so excited to have you on board," and then the job just fell through. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, like my objective was to be kind to them, to treat them fairly, to not try to like undercut, not to try to rip them off and you know Yeah, sure. I could have quoted $15,000 for this job, but it's like, I felt like it was even if you don't get the job, man, you still want to be kind and honest and, uh, straight up with people.
One
So
of the things that's super important about this that I feel like nobody talks about either is like it's super contextual too. Like you're at a point in your career where like you could afford to not have that job because you made the decision looking at your finances and where you're at as a man and your family or whatever and saying like, hey, it's not worth my time to do this for $25 a headshot because it's just not worth it. But there might have been a point in your career where you would have done it for $25 a headshot. And
yeah,
I think people don't understand that of like, there are jobs that there's a 0% chance I would take for certain budgets today. But when I was 23 and my only objective was to be a photographer that gets paid to do this, it was like, hey man, I'll do that job for $150. Like I'll go out for 3 hours and do that for $150 and then edit on the back end of that because my ultimate goal is to get paid and to live my life as somebody who uses my camera to pay my bills. And
yeah,
so I think some people think because they have 10K on Instagram or because they got the art degree or because they can take a really good DSLR photo, they're like above it. But it's like,
hmm
man, at the end of the day, like, the lights have got to be on in your house. Like
yeah,
food's got to be on the table. And I
yeah,
think a lot of people kind of miss that of like, I mean, I've got really good friends that, you know, they're like, I love them to death. And like, they wouldn't do jobs for the budgets that I do because their career's on a different trajectory than mine. And that's
yeah,
fine. I don't know if that's something I could have done to have been on their level, but that's just me being honest with myself.
yeah,
And like, here's like a really raw thought, like just to be honest to everybody, like I love I love film cameras. Like I have an embarrassing collection of film cameras. Like I've never even shown all the ones I have because I just like collecting them. Like I want to give them to my kids one day. I like gear. And so if I really want a camera and say I'm like X amount of dollars off from being able to purchase that and I just want it and a job comes in, it's a little bit lower than like what I would normally do, but I want that camera, it's like I'm going to take it because like
yeah,
there's something in my life that I want. And, I don't do that all the time. And I'm not trying to like destroy the industry in my city, which I think that argument is very, very contextual too. But like, you just got to know where you're at because when you were saying that, the first thing I was thinking was like, you know, you're in a position right now where you don't have to do that. But I bet there was a time when you came out of college where you would have been stoked to have done 100 headshots for like $40,
yeah,
you're just not there anymore.
yeah,
And so it's super contextual. You have to realize where you are and what your goals are as a freelance photographer, because
yeah,
sometimes people just turn their nose up too quick. And I'm like, man, you gotta get some establishment in your city or in your spheres of the industry of hospitality or food or whatever. So I just wanted to
yeah,
throw that in there to let people know, like there was times where all of us were getting killed on budgets and rates because we were just trying to make it. And unfortunately, that's a lot of people's path. You gotta earn it to some degree.
I remember whenever I started hanging out with other photographers, it took a while, when I started shooting, it took a while to start hanging out with other photographers because people are just territorial and like they don't want to talk to you and stuff, which is so interesting in and of itself. But I remember whenever I would do like a job and they were like, "Well, how much did you charge for that job?" And I was like, "I don't know, like $300." And they're like, "Oh, you should be charging way more than that." And it's like that's helpful because it's like uh, you could get more money for the work that you're doing, like based on the market. But it's also like just let people figure that out for themselves, man. Let people charge what they want to charge based on how it makes them labor. You know what I'm saying? Like for some people, editing 100 headshots is like heaven to them, and for some people, it is literally horrible, and they hate doing it. And it's maintaining the consistency of light on people's faces. Like you're going to have people who just do not photograph well. Like, and for some people like me, headshots are more grueling. And so I know that a headshot is not as easy as it once sounded. And so I want to charge more because of the type of job it is. But for some people, like if they're like, yeah, I'll do that for $1,000, like, okay. Like, I mean, it's I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to get mad at photographers because it's kind of like they're undercutting other people. But part of me is just like that client probably wouldn't have paid any more for that anyway, in a lot of ways. And so I don't know. A lot of these kinds of things you just kind of have to let roll because you don't know what the opposite story could have been. Like you just don't know.
It's scary too. Like I get it. Like I understand why people don't want to send a higher budget because, I can't go into details about who the company was, but man, I lost a huge job like 3 years ago. And, I tell the story, like you guys can't know, sorry, but like I would tell Andrew who it was after, but like, yeah, man, just lost a huge job one time and the budget was really good, but I just thought it was worth more. And so, I sent back to the agency and I was like, and they had already said like, if you want it for this budget, like it's yours. And I just went up like, man, it wasn't even anything ridiculous. I went up like, maybe not a smidge, but it wasn't astronomical, but I went up and I was like, hey, this is what I think it's worth. Because I was confident that I was the only person that could do what they wanted to do. And that's definitely rarely the case. So that makes it even scarier because there's always going to be somebody who can do what you do. But ours was specifically with our national park here in the Smokies. And so like in my head, I was like, nobody can give them what they need like I can. Nobody knows the park like me. Nobody's going to be willing to get up and hike that at sunrise, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I just lost the job, man. Just didn't work out. And to this day, like I think about that and I'm like, why did I not just take that job? Like that was really good money. And when for everybody, if you've never had one of those, like when you have one of those, something like that, and you can never be sure if you're going to get it. But for that one, I was pretty sure I had it, for the original budget. And when you have one of those, man, you'll lay awake at night and be like, dang, man, like for me, it's like, could have bought my wife a nice gift, could have gone on vacation, could have continued paying off student loan debt, just all these things I could have used that money for. And so it's scary, man. It's just, but at the end of the day, you're the only one that can know and believe in what you're worth. And so, yeah, it's just tough, man. But sometimes doesn't haunt you, man.
Yeah. I think everyone remembers where they were when they got like their first like email, like from a client that was like a really big deal. This client, I'll just say it was Wendy's. And like I've followed Wendy's on Twitter for the last like several years, and like their Twitter feed is just fantastic. But anyway, so it was kind of what you're saying. There's an agency reaching out to me on behalf of Wendy's, and Wendy's wanted to basically highlight Jackson, Mississippi. And I did the job for whatever their budget was. I think their budget was like $1,500, which is not like horrible money. I mean, it's $1,500 you didn't have, but I do this job, and dude, I had to have like 2 assistants, which already makes $1,500 go really quick. Had to have 2 assistants. We were like on a football field that I had to like reserve, and I had to do all the communicating. Like they didn't do anything. And dude, they didn't even use the photos. That was 3 years ago. That was like my first like big job. And like it was legit enough to where I could say, yeah, I worked with Wendy's, but like they didn't use the photos. So like I don't want to post them because I'm like, they never posted these, and I'm pretty sure I signed like some kind of contract saying that I couldn't post them anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's sometimes, man, you just have those things that just like didn't work out, and you're left with you just got to keep going, and better things will come. And they have, like, good things have come. And nobody ever hired me because I have Wendy's on my website that I worked with them.
That's kind of cool though, dude. I don't know. I'm a big Wendy's guy. That's pretty dope. I didn't know that.
It was super random. It was they gave me like a shot list of, it was all like football based. Mm-hmm. And so all the photos were on a turf field. And it was cool. But like I said, when clients don't use the stuff, you kind of feel like defeated a little bit. And so I don't know, it's because like we did a suck job, or if it was just because, stuff like at companies like Wendy's and like huge companies, like they spend so much money just to see what they could do. Yeah. And so it's like, who knows, like the campaign that paid me $1,500 to do could have been one of like 10 across the South that they were looking at. And they chose, Dallas market instead. And so
yeah,
I try.
that's happened to me like a couple times, and like it kind of made me feel not great because I was like, did I not do a good job or what's going on here?
Yeah.
I hate this. I can't tell you guys who any of this is because I could technically, but I just don't want to. But like, yeah, like had a really big company one time and like just I never saw it anywhere. And that, but I mean, that can be a positive thing because it just made me think like, okay, like next time I do a job like that, like I'm going to work even harder to make sure like they don't have a choice but to not use them. So that's always a strange
Yeah.
one. You never see the work on the back end. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess I blew that one. Maybe I don't know. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a job. I had a job a year and a half ago for a TV show, and it actually airs in May next month. And so I'm really freaking excited to finally like share like some work that I'm really proud of. But yeah, well, talk to me more about kind of like what you've been doing in this pandemic season. Like what have kind of been what's been your mentality throughout this whole thing?
um,
I'll say this: I've known photographers specifically, and you have two sides. You have the photographers who are like, "Oh, I'm documenting," and then you have photographers who are like, "I'm not doing anything."
yeah, I think I'm probably a healthy balance. You know, like I was playing so much Call of Duty, man. Like the new game mode called Warzone. So if you're on it, hit my line. But yeah, I
Heck
was
yeah,
playing like a ton of that, watching Netflix. I'm like an NBA addict, so sports are gone. So I was definitely like the first couple weeks, like, what is going on? Like, just really, just down in the dumps, man. And then probably like like maybe 10 days ago, I started taking photos around my house. Granted, I live in like a very photographic place. It's like I wasn't trying to do like still life. Like I live on a farm. And so really for those of you who are better at like documenting your life, you would probably be super pissed if you saw where I live because you would be like, you live in the best quarantine place. Cause I mean, I've got rolling hills, a pond, cows, barns, everything. And the golden hour light, sunrise and sunset, hits everything outside my driveway. And so probably like 10 days ago, I started taking the RZ around every night. Me and my wife, Kelly, we would just started kind of doing golden hour walks with our dog where she'd just be walking and I'd be trying to shoot along the way. So I have been doing that. I think I haven't done it a ton because I think I've got 2 rolls right here and then I'm on 8. So I've taken 28 shots on the RZ and I'm maybe
yeah,
halfway through a 38 or 35 roll. So I've been trying to shoot around, but yeah, most of my work, like stuff that gets me jazzed, is like the mountains and stuff. So, and our national park is closed, and haven't announced a reopen date. So, I'm probably in the middle. Like right now, my status is like 3 days only Netflix, video games. 3 days I've got to take photos. So, uh,
yeah.
I'm ready to leave though, man. I could. I'm not the document your life guy kind of guy. I'm like just gonna go take this. I'm like whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a hard balance, because I've got 2 young daughters, and like you would think that I would just like always be photographing them, but like when I think about that, like I already get stressed because it's like, okay, if I go out there with like my Leica or my Leica Q, for example, I just got one yesterday. But if I go out there with it, I'm thinking now it's like, okay, I go take the photos, and now I've got to figure out like I've got to edit them, and then I've got to figure out where to store them because it's like if you're just playing on a swing set and there's other people around, like how do you even store that? Like so my mind starts going to like, how do I like organize it all? And like, do I just send it to my wife and let her do something with it? Like, and so for me, it's like sometimes I would just rather like take a few shots on the iPhone, and if the light's really good, I'll get out the like a 35 millimeter or something. But it, I'm not like that either. Like I'm like when the light's great, when this moment is great, when it feels right. Because like I hate being in the backyard and like trying to throw a frisbee, and I've got like a camera around my neck and nowhere to put it, and it's just like I would just rather go out to take photos and go do that. And that's kind of just
That's why Matt Day is really underrated because like the stuff he gets of his kids is just like absurd, like how good some of the moments are. And I know he gets that because he's willing to like always be strapped. But that's like such a little tedious detail that you just said. That's one of my main problems too, is like I live in a rural state. I live on a farm. Like if I'm out on a walk, there's nowhere to set my camera that's not like gonna not that I care about messing it up, but it's just little stuff like that of like that happened like a couple of days ago. We were walking our dog at golden hour around the farm and I had a camera, but then like I had to open the gate to go into a pasture or something, and I had my RZ with no strap, and so I couldn't do it with one hand. So then I had to find somewhere to sit my camera down. And that's such a little detail that you just mentioned, but it's really difficult to document your life to the level of someone like Matt is doing. And that's what makes his work so special, because just try and take a camera with you everywhere for 7 days straight, and you'll see like why Leicas demand the price they do. Because it's like, you can do it with any camera, don't get me wrong, but it's like to have, I don't know, I'm with you though. Like it's difficult to document your life to that level, and I'm not good at it.
Yeah, the Leica definitely helps because they're small and they just work really quickly. I've been thinking about like they should like create like some kind of invention that goes into your car that like goes in between like the console and the passenger seat that just like comes up and holds a camera.
Dude, that would have the worst market value, because there would be like 0.003% of the population, aka us, that would actually like be into that.
Because like, how many times have you gotten in your car and you put like your RZ or like your big medium format like at your feet, and it's just like it's down there and you're kicking it, and it's like,
I know that all too well. Like trying to have your camera in your lap while you drive. Oh my god.
Yeah, but like if there's just like a little metal table that you could like magnetize your camera to, and just it would stay there. That'd be so sick. And I would use that all the time. I thought about that yesterday even.
You should make it, dude. Kickstarter.
So tell me about your YouTube channel. How's that going?
YouTube is going really good, man. I think I have less than 20 videos up, and it's at 18,000 subscribers. So it's
amazing.
I think I got 18 videos. So it's about, for every video I've posted, I'm 1,000 subscribers. And so it's been tough, man, because I'm a huge YouTube guy. Like Willem Verbeek could testify to this. Like I was on his channel like when he had 3 videos. I found Matt Day like almost 5 years ago. I just love YouTube. Like I watch YouTube every day of my life, whether it's about video games or cameras or anything. I'm obsessed with it, have been since I was a kid. And so I've always wanted a channel, man, but I was just way too scared to make one. Like didn't want people to make fun of me, didn't know what I would look like on a camera, didn't feel like I knew enough about the cameras, which that's just like that's a common symptom of fear. Like I know plenty about all the cameras that I shoot, but I just was too scared of like people were going to say that I didn't know. And so I finally just started one last fall. It was like in August, maybe the first video went up, and I said all that stuff about me being passionate about YouTube to know that like I just lost all the light in my room. I'm sorry about that. But I said all that to say, because I was so passionate about YouTube, I wanted to come in and do it like as good as I could. Like I was not going to come in, and this is kind of a funny business strategic thing for all of us freelancers, but like it was very important to me that I didn't come in as like an iPhone guy that like didn't have like good transitions and didn't have like the best music and stuff like that. And so that was a pretty big investment on the front end, but I've seen how it's paid off. Like my videos, like I reference Willem because he's a good buddy of mine. So like I understand my videos aren't as good as his, because like whose are, but I knew that I wanted to at least get as close to him as I could. Like I knew that I wanted to have somebody following me around with a good rig when they could. I knew that my audio had to be good. I knew that I was going to have to pay $40 a month for music bed. If there's one thing that I believe in life, just like a core principle of myself, it's like if things are expensive, there's a reason why they are 9 out of 10. It's not an exam. It's not a mistake while some people are successful and some aren't. Like we all know what a good video is. We all know what a good photo is. And so I'm not a video guy. I still don't know anything about it. So I just reached out in my city, found somebody to work with, and told them, hey, my budget is not big at all, but like I want to pay you because you're a creative, and this is what I have. And I just literally pitched him. I was like, these are all the reasons why I think my YouTube channel could like get some decent growth. and he just believed in me, man. And his name is Drew. He's working on a video right now that's probably going up tomorrow. Yeah, and he's the best partner in crime I could ask for. I produce all the videos, all the ideas are mine. I make all those calls, but from a video perspective, he does it, man. And
Yeah.
it's really crazy to have 15, 16, 17 subscribers and know that most of my videos sit in the 20 to 30,000 range. So I don't have all the answers. I'm learning a lot every week that we post a video. I'm like, I could have done this better. This sucks, but just trying to grow it and hopefully make it a profitable thing. But everything right now that I make photography wise is literally going back into investing in YouTube. And so even very recently, like I've had the opportunity to potentially make some money on the YouTube channel. And, you know that if that manifests, like every dime is going straight back to Drew just to make more videos. Cause the thing with YouTube that's really frustrating is consistency is the only thing that matters to a large degree. Like you gotta have good videos. That all matters, of course. But if you're not uploading like twice a month is a good goal for me. But like, I know that's killing me right now because I've had stretches where I posted 4 to 6 times in an 8-week time frame, and my channel just grew. So right now, my only challenge is trying to figure out how to post more and how to make the videos better each time. So it's tough, man. YouTube is really hard, and you guys should really respect people like Matt Day and Willem Verbeek and people that are constantly uploading because it is a freaking grind, dude. And I'm just trying to learn along the way.
Yeah, like, so we started the Local Analog YouTube channel in 2018.
Which that's another example. Like I knew about Local Analog like way before I ever talked to you on Instagram. Like if you have a film YouTube channel and you're listening to this, I guarantee you I know your channel. Like I'm on YouTube so much. But yeah, I knew about Local Analog long before me and you ever talked. Like I don't remember what video it was I found, but.
Well, the video that really got us on to start for people to actually start seeing our stuff was the Mamiya's 7 video. Okay. And like people railed me in the comments because I didn't know how to change the ISO.
Yeah, people are brutal, dude.
No, but it just became really difficult. Like our first 6 months, we were very consistent, posting a ton. And the guy who films for me, he's actually a part of Local Analog. His name's Cody Gaucher. And he's a videographer who lives in town. And so he's always available and down to shoot. And so I've been really fortunate having a partner who could actually be invested into the channel, yet also like putting so much work into it. But like, dude, every video costs me probably like $150 just in like film costs. And then you add like time, and then you add like just dealing with YouTube, like the interface of it. And it's just it really is such a grind. And I have a ton of respect for Matt Day. I've always appreciated his like his candor and his like willingness to like talk to people who follow him. And there's a reason why he's kind of like the OG film YouTube guy,
Father Day.
Father Day. Yeah, YouTube is a strange place, but I've definitely appreciated seeing the rise of film YouTube and how people are going to take it. I recently found, have you ever seen, I'm sure you have, Grainy Days?
Yeah. So that guy, I'm sure he probably won't hear this, but like I had seen his videos from years ago, and basically like just in the last 6 months, like, I don't know how to tell you guys this any other way. Like I am obsessed with YouTube. So like, I know like where people's accounts are. Like I know how many views you're getting. Like I know where your sub count is out. And so I would watch every video he put up because I just love any video about film photography. And so I was watching his videos, and I remember like just in the last 3 or 4 months, like going to watch a video he uploaded because it was in my sub box. And it just happened to like, I'm not going to everybody's channel and looking at your sub count, but it's just something after time. Cause like, if I find your channel and you have more than 3 videos, like, dude, I'll sit there for an hour and watch them all. Like, I don't care if they're great or bad or whatever. And so I remember just because I'd watched him for so long, I kind of knew where he was at sub count wise. And I looked down and he was up like 10K or something. And I was like, yo, what happened here? And then you could tell that he kind of in his brain caught wind and understood like, oh, I've got something special here, because he's so different. Like he's very sassy, like he's very sarcastic, and like he's unique. And so like, honestly, like good for him. Like I'm not surprised that his channel did that, because he's so different. And so then I kind of noticed like he kind of went to the twice a month upload, and he really is stuck to it because he knows like he's got something special there. And so, yeah, I've been watching that guy's videos for like easily way before he took off recently. But that's another thing, is like, he's just different, man. Like my channel is not that different from like what all these bigger guys do, but Grainy Days, dude, my light has gotten so bad in here. But
I can't tell.
Sorry for you podcast listeners, but I just looking great. But yeah, man, that's why Grainy Days is doing great, because like he's being himself. Like I guarantee if you went and kicked it with that guy and like had a beer in California with him, like he'd have that same sense of humor, and that's what you're getting. That's what makes his channel so special. And so, yeah, that guy is doing really well right now. So shout out to him.
My favorite thing that he's ever done, and he kind of does this in every episode, but like I watched his scan video because I've been starting to do some self-scanning, and his video was extremely helpful. But he goes to his desktop, and it's just a picture of George from Negative Feedback, like with glasses, and like he has this kind of like the sub narrative of like he's obsessed with George. Like, but he's still really sarcastic and like borderline mean, you know? And I love that kind of stuff. Just kind of having like it's not just like hey, welcome to Local Analog. Today we're going to be walking around, you know, taking photos with this camera. But it's like there's like a storyline for you to grasp onto this like random film YouTube channel. And I just think people stick to that and like they love that. And I would love to talk with him. He's awesome.
Yeah, it's super important, man. Like, there's little stuff in my videos that like I've left in because like they're not professional, and it's like it's just who I am. Like I don't get like I grew up skateboarding, stuff like that. Like I'm just laid back, and so that was something that was very important to me from the first time I met with my buddy Drew. Like I told him, I was like, I don't want my channel to be like super serious. And so like on one side of that coin, like not serious didn't mean that I was going to be like comedic like that guy Jason, because I can't do that. It's just not me. Like I'm not funny in that way, but I am like stuff goes wrong in my life all the time, and it's just like it's just whatever. And so it's important to try and make them like, I mean, especially now, I mean, there's so many channels popping up. And so it's like if you're not yourself, like you're just doomed from the start, because there's all like Kyle McDougall. I don't know if you've ever seen like his videos are so freaking good. It's like, dude, my videos are never going to be as good as Kyle's probably from like a review standpoint. Like he's the gold standard for like reviews and stuff like that. And so it's like my videos are never going to be like that. The only card I have to play is to like be the tall, lanky guy who likes to go outside with his friends and like just kick it. That's just what it is. And so, yeah, man, it's a fun time though. Cause I mean, I'm finding channels every day and I'm like, what the heck? This dude's uploaded 4 videos about film. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. Speaking of Kyle, the funny thing is like, because if you ever like talk to him, he is like a cinematographer. Like that's what he does.
But I knew that after like 2 videos, like I literally DM'd him like after I'd seen like, dude, no videos from him. I literally hit him up on Instagram because we follow each other. And I was like, dude, are you a video guy? Like, is that what you do as a full-time freelancer? And he was like, yeah, man. And I was like, yeah, I knew that because your YouTube videos are out of control, dude.
Yeah. So they're beautiful. Like they're gorgeous videos. And he is so consistent with what he posts and the type of images that he takes. And it's just, his stuff's beautiful. And I've seen some of his behind the scenes stuff and it's just, he really puts a lot of time.
Yeah, if I won the lottery, I would just hit up Kyle and be like, yo, absurd salary, just make my videos every week. Like, you don't have to do any more jobs. Like if you guys have not seen Kyle McDougall's YouTube channel, he is an incredibly talented person, man.
Yeah. So a couple more questions. How does your, Kelly, your wife, like how does she kind of handle like your YouTube and being a photographer? Like I'm sure
she doesn't give a frick, dude. And I love that. Like, she doesn't care that a lot of people like my photos on Instagram at times. Because sometimes they don't get a lot of likes, but like whatever. Like she doesn't care about any of that, dude. Like I could never go to Kelly and be like, yo, this photo got this amount of likes. She would just be like, you're a dork. Get out of my face. Like, she just doesn't care, which honestly, like, I love. Like, that's incredibly
Yeah.
helpful for me because I can say, like, with confidence and transparency, like, I don't care about it like I used to, which is a good thing. But there are times when I still get stoked on it. And that's the differentiation I'd like to make. Like, she is incredibly supportive of everything I want to do. And that's amazing. So if she can tell it's something I'm super stoked on, like, hey, I'm selling prints and that did good this time, or like, hey, this person I really look up to just followed me on Instagram or something like that, she'll be stoked because she sees I'm stoked. But as far as just like the day to day monotonous woes of social media, she doesn't have it. Like, Kelly doesn't like have Instagram. She doesn't have Twitter. And then, but YouTube kind of fell under the stoked one because it's still something that's very new to me. And it's something that I'm putting a lot of work and time into. And so she sees that. And so, yeah, she watches all the videos, she shares them and stuff like that. So on her Facebook page. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's so important to have support, man. Because a lot of people on like film YouTube, like I'm not sure like what they're, if they're married or whatever, but it's like when you've got a wife who like who's like, for me, like literally my wife is putting kids down to bed while you and I are talking. And it's just like, if you don't have that solidarity support, it's really hard to like feel fulfilled in what you're doing. Cause that's half the battle is just like getting people around you to be supportive,
Yeah. And so like the prime example for that of like what you're referencing is so true is like the YouTube channel. So just to show you guys like kind of the grind that goes into that, like for my YouTube channel, like I'm constantly having to take jobs right now that like I have no desire to do. I'm incredibly underpaid for them just to continue to pay my buddy. And then like you're saying, so like on my, like if I have a day off that I could have been kicking it at home, like I'm going to do jobs that I don't want to do just so I can take the money and take it directly and give it to my friend to make the videos. Then I got to take money out of our checking account for set $60-$80 for the film to be developed and scanned every time. So, and then like we even just like met with our accountant for tax season like a couple months ago. And this year I had to present to YouTube like in that, like for my finances, because there's a lot of money going into my YouTube channel right now. And like my wife doesn't have to support that because my YouTube channel makes no money right now. But like she knows because I believe in it and I've proved not time and time again, but I've proved enough times like if I feel like I can make something work. So like my YouTube channel could combust and never make a dime, but like I would never be able to say like she didn't have my back. And anytime I've had to take extra money out to make a video happen for like you guys to enjoy, like she's always down for the cause. Like yesterday I had to go work on a YouTube video. Here I'm working on this video with you for your channel or whatever for podcasts. So yeah, it's important to make sure somebody's going to, we've all been on fool's errands before. So you want someone with wisdom who will kind of tell you at times, okay, I don't think this is a good idea. But yeah, I couldn't do it without Kelly. That's a fact. I wouldn't be able to do anything I do creatively without her. She has my back no matter how crazy I dream.
Yeah. So that's awesome. You'll have to thank her for me because my wife would totally know how to like identify with that. So tell me, last thing I want to talk about quickly is you just went on a long road trip, and you have or you have not shared those photos yet.
I've shared maybe like 10 on my Instagram, but it was mainly to promote the print sale. So like, these are actually like, I've sent out a lot of them. So like some of these around. So I've shared about 10, but then I have a YouTube video coming out like in the next day or two. And it's the most photos I've ever had in a video. I think there's literally 83 scans in one video, which is absurd. And so a lot of the photos are going to be shared in that video when it comes out from the road trip. So that video, yesterday, the video was like 15 minutes long, and we decided to break it up into part 1 and part 2. And then the funniest part about that is the video is only from the first 3 days of like an 8-day road trip. So part 1 and part 2 are from just 3 days, and the next 5 days, like I'm going to have to address it, but there's just no way I could have made a video from the whole trip. So you'll be able to see more photos from the trip in this video coming up for sure.
Yeah. So what was kind of like the map? Where did you guys go?
We drove to, so if you guys on if you're podcasting or you're videoing it up or however Andrew chooses to share this format wise, you can just Google a town called Marfa, Texas, Marfa. And that is just in the very bottom west corner of Texas near the Mexico border. And we just kind of stayed around that area and then went down to the border to Big Bend National Park. And just kind of stayed like within like a 300-400 mile radius of that area. So it was just incredibly desolate desert, badlands, just giant wide open spaces. But when we went on the trip was when all of the COVID-19 stuff kind of literally the day we pulled into town to start an 8-day photography journey, like was when President Trump did his first big address where he was like, in a nutshell, was like, hey, this is a problem. Like we all need to start staying at home.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a wild time. But yeah, that was the area that we were in, just West Texas, down on the border.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting because as things start kind of becoming like more vacant in big cities, like you were already shooting vacant things anyway.
Yeah.
That's big in the desert.
We thought we were in the perfect place. Like we pulled in down there and we were like, every town we pulled into like had a population of like between literally like 100 people to like 2,000 people. So incredibly small towns. And so we're like, this is the perfect place to be. Like there's nobody down here. There's like one person per square mile. And this is the perfect place to be. But it wasn't. Like they were even closing everything down in all of these small towns. So, and that was long before states got shelter in home or stay at home orders.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was kind of a bummer. And hopefully I'm going to go back to these places one day. So,
yeah. I mean, that's awesome, man. Well, can't really thank you enough for coming on and talking, man. This has been great.
I appreciate the invite, man. Like I said, I hate to keep saying it, but I'm just a YouTube fiend, man. So I've been supporting local analog for a minute, and then me and you you kind of feel like you're the black sheep when you live in the South in the photography world. So
yeah,
as soon as you ever hit me up on Instagram or whatever, I remember being like, I just want to be friends with this guy because you live in Jackson, and so. Man, I appreciate it. I respect your work so much. I don't know how I've done hospitality stuff and it's freaking hard to get some of those food shots. So
yeah, dude.
I appreciate you inviting me, man.
Man, yeah. Well, really quick for the few people who don't already know, where can people find your work and keep up with you?
Yeah, like I got a website, but the best place is just on my Instagram, which is my last name is a nightmare. So sorry, but it's just at Corey Wolfenbarger. And then, you can follow me there. And then my YouTube channel, you can just search my name as well on YouTube. And like I say, at the end of all my videos, if you guys would subscribe there, if you haven't already, or just come by and check out a video, it would mean the world to me. We're still learning, trying to figure it all out, but hopefully you could find some videos that would give you a laugh or a good time. So yeah, Instagram and YouTube would be the main places to keep up.
Yeah, well, for sure. Everybody definitely go and subscribe and follow Corey. And man, thank you again. And I'll be seeing you around and talking to you soon. Hopefully we'll see each other in person one day and hang out.
Good time, man. If they open the gates back, maybe I can come down to Jackson.
Yeah, dude, that'd be rad. All right, dude, I'll talk to you later.
Peace, man.